welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're venturing into some truly uncharted territory. The rise of generative ghosts.
Right.
And we're not talking about static digital archives here. This is about AI agents designed to represent deceased individuals by, well, actually creating new content in their style.
It's a huge leap, isn't it? Beyond just replaying old recordings or texts.
Exactly.
Imagine an AI that can, generate fresh insights, maybe offer new advice, or even create art or writing that sounds just like the person.
It's less about just preserving the past and more like creating this dynamic digital presence, one that could keep interacting almost.
That's the idea. And the speed this is all moving at is, well, pretty amazing.
Yeah, especially over the last year or so, right? Particularly in East Asia, you see this surge of interest, new companies popping up.
Like Deep Brain AI's Rememory or Hereafter, they're actually offering these kinds of things now.
It really feels like we're on the cusp of something big here, something that could fundamentally change how we think about memory, legacy, even remembrance itself.
Absolutely. And that's where being this deep dive today, focusing on this paper, Generative Ghosts, anticipating benefits and risks of AI afterlives.
It's by Meredith Ringel Morris at Google DeepMind. She works on human-AI interaction, and Jed R. Brubaker from the University of Colorado Boulder.
Yeah, and Brubaker specializes in what they call thanatosensitive design.
Which is basically designing tech with death and remembrance baked in, understanding how we engage with it all.
Exactly. Designing with sensitivity towards death and grieving.
So our goal today is to really unpack what they're saying, get to grips with the future they're sketching out.
Looking at the exciting possibilities for sure, but also digging into the potential downsides, the risks of these AI afterlives.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What's really driving this? What tech breakthroughs have suddenly made these generative ghosts seem so feasible?
Well, it's really a convergence of things, but the biggest driver is generative AI. The massive improvements in large language models.
Like GPT-4, Palm 2, Llama 2.
Right. These models can generate text that feels incredibly human-like, way beyond what we could do just a few years back.
And it's not just text, is it? We're seeing progress in generating images, video, even audio too. Makes the whole digital representation thing much more convincing.
For sure. And importantly, these aren't just static outputs. The paper talks about generative agents.
Agents with memory and planning capabilities. That sounds like they could actually interact, respond meaningfully, not just spit back stored info.
That's the idea. They can potentially perform actions, maybe access information online, interact with other systems based on how they're set up.
Wow.
And another big factor is accessibility. Tools like OpenAI's GPTs, they let people without deep coding skills create their own custom AI agents.
So it's sort of democratizing the technology, putting it in more hands.
Exactly. Lowers the barrier significantly.
It's fascinating when you think about how this fits into our history of memorializing people. From gravestones centuries ago to online memorials today.
We've always used tech for remembrance. Remember the virtual memorial garden? That was back in '96, an early digital attempt.
Yeah, but these generative ghosts seem fundamentally different, even from earlier AI afterlife attempts.
Oh, completely. Think about Ray Kurzweil's Fredbot for his father. It could only quote existing stuff.
Or Eugenia Kuda's Roman bot, trained on texts.
It's still limited, Rick.
Still limited to what was already there. Even the AI recreations of, say, John Lennon or Lou Reed impressive, but mostly about replicating an existing style.
So the key difference is this ability to generate new, novel content. The paper even distinguishes them from grief bots. How so?
Well, grief bots, which have been around in simpler forms, are mainly for providing comfort through conversation. Generative ghosts go further.
How?
They can create genuinely new things, potentially evolve by learning new info if designed that way, and even use other AI tools to perform complex tasks. That's the tool use idea in AI.
And there's that really intriguing idea the paper mentions, creating them before someone dies. The generative clones, yeah, like a digital twin you create while alive, which could then become the generative ghost later.
That pre-mortem clone idea. That's really something to think about. Okay, so we know what they are, what tech's enabling them. Now, the paper lays out this design space, 7 dimensions that shape how these things work and what impact they might have.
Right, this framework is super helpful for understanding the variations. Let's start with the first one. Provenance.
Provenance. So basically, who makes it or authorizes it?
Exactly. Is it first party, meaning the person themselves created or commissioned it, maybe as part of planning? Or is it third party?
Created by someone else, family, friends, maybe even a company.
Yeah, and that immediately throws up huge questions about consent.
Especially with third-party ones, right?
Yeah.
Unauthorized ghosts, particularly for public figures. We've seen AI voice cloning causing controversy already.
Absolutely. Consent, ownership of your digital self after death. It gets incredibly complex. This ties right into the future of AI ethics overall.
Okay, dimension 2. Deployment timeline.
This is about when it's created or released before death or after death.
And that pre-mortem idea, the generative clone, seems to have some real advantages.
It definitely could. The person gets to actually shape their own AI representation, fine-tune it while they're still alive.
It's really curating their digital legacy themselves. It fits with that whole digital legacy planning trend.
Exactly. Then there's the third dimension, the anthropomorphism paradigm.
How human-like is it meant to be? Is it trying to feel like a reincarnation, or is it clearly just a representation of tools?
This could have huge psychological impacts on users, couldn't it?
You'd think so.
The paper points out really subtle design choices matter here. Like, does the ghost use I and speak in the present tense?
Giving the impression it is the person.
Versus referring to the person in the past tense, making it clear it's about them. Even the name matters. Calling it Fredbot shapes how we see it.
Okay, next up, multiplicity. Single ghost or multiple versions of the same person.
Yeah, you could see someone intentionally creating different versions, maybe one for close family, another for professional contacts.
Tailored for different audiences. Makes sense.
But the paper also warns about unintentional multiplicity. Like, what if different people create different third-party ghosts? Or identity theft leads to fake ones.
Yeah, that could get messy. Okay, fifth dimension, cutoff date.
Does the ghost stay frozen in time based on data up to a certain point? Or can it evolve, learn new things?
The idea of a ghost that could sort of age digitally or learn about things that happened after the person died, that's both fascinating and a bit weird.
It is. A static ghost is like a snapshot. An evolving one could, well, grow, learn about world events, maybe even change in ways the original person wouldn't have.
The paper gives that example of a ghost of a child. Does it stay a child forever or somehow simulate aging?
Or what about incorporating milestones from the survivors' lives? Should the ghost know about a grandchild being born? Really complex questions.
The number 6 is embodiment. Does it have a physical form?
Right, it's a spectrum. Could be just a chatbot, purely virtual, or it could be linked to a physical robot or an avatar in VR or AR.
And that level of physical presence would totally change the interaction, wouldn't it? A robot version feels very different from just text on a screen.
Absolutely. Blurs the digital real boundary even more, raises even more complex emotional stuff.
And finally, dimension 7, representee. Mostly human, but they acknowledge it could be pets too.
Yeah, a brief mention, recognizing how strong those bonds with pets or service animals can be. Some might want to preserve that connection too.
Okay, so that's the design space. Really useful framework. Now, the paper gets into the potential benefits. Let's start with benefits for the representees themselves, the people choosing to create these.
Well, the big one is that desire for a digital afterlife, isn't it? A way to be remembered, to extend your presence somehow.
Preserving your stories, your values, your unique way of seeing things, but in a way that's more dynamic than just writing it down.
Exactly. More interactive for future generations. And it offers a sense of maybe continued agency. Like the idea you could still offer comfort to loved ones, maybe give advice at a future wedding or pass on specific cultural knowledge. It's a way to feel like you're still having some impact.
The paper even mentions possible legal or economic roles, like managing IP or helping with will arbitration. That seems pretty far out there, but interesting.
It's definitely forward thinking. Okay, so what about the benefits for the bereaved, the people left behind?
It seems like a major potential upside. Emotional support, comfort.
Helping achieve closure, maybe?
Yeah.
Maintaining those continuing bonds people talk about in grief psychology?
Right. Potentially helping with healthy grieving, what they call accommodation, integrating the loss while still feeling connected.
The paper notes that people often talk to the deceased anyway, in a one-sided way, and that can be healthy.
So how does it change if the ghost actually responds, even if it's AI?
That's a huge question. Does that interaction offer a different kind of emotional engagement? Does it help or hinder the grieving process long-term?
We probably don't really know yet, do we?
Not really. It's definitely an area needing careful thought and research as the tech rolls out.
But beyond the emotional side, there are potential practical benefits for the bereaved too, right?
Oh, yeah. Accessing crucial info, funeral plans, passwords, maybe guidance on tasks the deceased handled.
Could make that difficult period after a loss a bit smoother, less overwhelming.
Potentially. And as mentioned, maybe even generating income in some scenarios, offering tangible support.
Okay, and then there are the broader societal benefits the paper touches on.
This is where you see the big picture AI future implications. Preserving culture, history, heritage, especially for maybe smaller groups or endangered languages.
Imagine interacting with a ghost holding the collective wisdom of elders or deep knowledge of specific historical events. That's powerful.
Huge potential for education, museums, historical research. Querying these digital ghosts could offer totally new ways to understand the past.
They even mention creating ghosts of archetypes, not just specific people, but representing broader cultural figures or ideas.
Yeah, an intriguing concept.
So, okay, lots of potential good,
No?
but inevitably there are risks. Let's switch gears and talk about the potential mental health risks.
This is absolutely critical. While there are potential comforts, there are also serious concerns. One big one is delayed accommodation.
Meaning?
The risk that constantly interacting with a ghost stops someone from fully processing the loss, from integrating the reality that the person is gone.
Almost like getting stuck, leading to complicated grief.
Potentially. If someone becomes overly reliant on the AI presence instead of engaging with the living world moving forward, the paper compares it to how compelling AI companions can be.
And applying that to someone you actually knew and loved, yeah, you can see the potential for unhealthy attachment.
Definitely. And related to that is the risk of anthropomorphism, really starting to believe the ghost is the person, not just an AI mimicking them.
Blurring that line between reality and simulation.
Which could make other mental health issues worse. And then there's the really profound idea of deification.
Like developing religious beliefs about the ghost, seeing it as sacred.
It sounds extreme, but the paper raises it as a possibility given the deep emotions involved.
And what about the idea of second deaths?
Ah, yes. The renewed grief if the ghost just stops existing. Maybe the company folds, the tech becomes obsolete, there's a data breach.
Given how attached someone might become, losing the ghost too could be incredibly painful. A double loss.
Exactly. Shows how fragile these digital afterlives might be and the emotional fallout if they disappear.
Okay, beyond mental health, what about reputational risks for the deceased person?
Logical concern, right? Even a well-meaning ghost could mess up.
How?
Privacy risks are huge, revealing things the person would have kept private. Especially hard since you can't predict future social norms about privacy.
Good point.
Then there's AI hallucinations, the AI just making stuff up that sounds plausible but is totally false about the person.
That could really distort someone's legacy.
And fidelity risks. Even if the info is technically accurate based on the training data, maybe it overemphasizes negative things or doesn't reflect how memories naturally soften over time. It might present a harsh or skewed picture.
And then security risks.
Yeah.
Kind of creepy to think these ghosts could be targets.
Very much so. Post-mortem identity theft, trying to trick the ghost into revealing sensitive data?
Like bank details or secrets?
Potentially. Or hijacking someone taking control of the ghost, maybe for ransomware, or to manipulate survivors, or just harass them.
That's disturbing.
And the paper even mentions malicious ghosts, someone deliberately creating a ghost designed to cause harm or do illegal things after they're gone.
Wow. Okay, lastly, the really big fuzzy ones. Sociocultural risks. This feels like completely new ground.
It really is. The paper suggests widespread adoption could shake things up profoundly in ways we can barely predict.
Like impacting the job market. If these agentic ghosts start doing economic tasks.
Possibly. Or changing interpersonal relationships. How do we relate to each other if these persistent digital personas are part of the mix?
And impacts on religion, beliefs about life and death. Could new kinds of beliefs or even religions emerge around this?
It's all on the table. Especially because these ghosts aren't just passive databases. Their potential agency, their ability to act, is what could drive really significant societal shifts.
It is a lot to process.
Yeah.
So what does the paper suggest we do? How can we mitigate these risks and move forward carefully?
Well, a huge emphasis is on really careful ethical interface design.
How so?
Managing that anthropomorphism, making it clear it's an AI, not the actual person's consciousness, avoiding designs that might trick people or become addictive.
Maybe things like ensuring the ghost only responds when spoken to, doesn't initiate contact.
That's one suggestion. Also, maybe building in some self-monitoring, the AI itself flagging potentially harmful interaction patterns.
Transparency also seems key, right? Knowing it's an AI, knowing who authorized it.
Absolutely crucial. Users need clarity. Is this AI? Is it representing someone deceased? Was it first party or third party?
You mentioned those examples, the AI poet interview, the AI phone call replicas, where lack of transparency caused issues.
Exactly. Maybe we need digital watermarks or clear labels to identify these things. And good interfaces are needed not just for interaction, but for creating and managing them too.
Setting up data rules, deciding when or if the ghost terminates, defining what it can and can't do.
Right. And the whole third-party ghost issue needs serious thought, privacy, consent, the distress it can cause families. Think about that AI George Carlin's special controversy.
Policies are probably needed there, maybe distinguishing between public figures and private citizens, and rules about shutting down unauthorized ghosts.
Definitely. And the paper also suggests thinking about the lifespan of a ghost. Should they last forever or have a defined purpose and endpoint?
It acknowledges predicting the long-term societal impact is really hard. We need more than just technical research.
Exactly. They call for user studies with diverse groups, getting input from everyone involved, bereaved families, potential users, ethicists, technologists. We need real-world data on how different designs actually affect people.
It really demands collaboration across fields, tech, ethics, psychology, sociology.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful and honestly quite thought-provoking, this whole area of generative ghosts.
Yeah.
It's clear the potential is huge, but the challenges, ethical and practical, are just as significant.
Absolutely. The main takeaways really are the need for ethics to lead the way, the importance of human-centered design, and the critical need for ongoing, careful research. We need to understand the deep implications for individuals, society, and even our understanding of what it means to connect, to remember, to be human.
On that note, here's something for you, the listener, to mull over. As AI gets better and better at mimicking us, even mimicking our loved ones, how is that going to change our fundamental grasp of life, death, and memory itself?
Or maybe think about this. What role should society play? Should there be clear rules, regulations on how these generative ghosts are created and used?
Definitely a lot to think about. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We hope you'll keep considering these profound questions and maybe look more into the research and debates around AI and this evolving digital afterlife.
It's an ongoing story. The evolution of AI and its impact on all our lives, present and future, is something we really all need to engage with.